Should we be on full lockdown? Question somebody asked, and there were mixed responses, and my response is no. And I want to explain to you why my response is no. So I'm not going to talk about what I believe is happening with the virus or viruses and how they work and our intelligent autobiome. And I'm not going to talk about conspiracy theories. I'm just going to focus on the impact of a lockdown and the impact of the way in which the fear is affecting people's immunity and the increase in vulnerability for people. So I want to explain a bit about people's behaviour. How come it is that people, as soon as they were initially scared, a lot of people started stockpiling, started getting toilet rolls and God knows what, bulk buying and hoarding stuff. Why is it that when we were told you can't go out, stay in, that people who hadn't been out and been exercising and walking in their average normal daily life suddenly started going out and getting fresh air? Well, what's going on? Why is that? It's not just you tell someone they can't have it and they want it. It's not as simple as that, which is the kind of general explanation as to why this might be happening. I'd like to explain to you what fear does to us, and if you don't manage your stress and trauma, the way that we're doing this slow herd immunization, which is what's happening, okay, this flattening the curve and letting it, decreasing the impact and the amount of deaths as it kind of works its way through, or through the population. There is going to be a second wave. Now that's planned, okay? If you don't manage your stress and trauma, then there will be a real increase of vulnerable people in the second wave. Okay, the idea is that you keep the curve flatter and therefore the impact stays lower, and then there's no strain or there's less strain on the NHS, and we can manage getting people through with the resources that we have. So here's the thing. When we have a threat to survival, it affects us on three levels. It affects us in three ways. But the most vital and the most important is our fundamental ability to actually be alive. It could be a self-identity, or it could be a role in the tribe that is affected. But in this instance, this is a real threat. This is a physical, visceral threat to survival. So this is a brainstem. The autonomic nervous system is controlled by the brainstem. So this is triggered on three levels, but primarily the most important, the go-to and the most fundamental survival mechanism that steps in is the need to physically survive. We can cope with the loss of our self-identity, and we can cope with the loss of who we are and where we are with the tribe, but we've got to be alive, right? So our behaviors, depending on that threat, is different. So the reason that people initially went into this brainstem survival mode was because all of the information told them that everyone's going to die, okay, and everyone was afraid. So the brainstem behavior is to retreat, okay? It comes from if you think about the triune brain, the kind of really early, cold-blooded animals can't fight, flight, they can't run. And if we have a freeze response, and remember the virus, you can't run from it, it's an invisible invader, right? You can't run from it, you can't fight it. So we have mass freeze response, and in that mass freeze response, in that panic and that fear, people retreat into brainstem behavior. And that brainstem behavior is to go and hide in your hidey hole, because early on, the cold-blooded animals didn't run. A crocodile doesn't run away, it literally just freezes and hopes the danger's going to pass. It hunkers down, it hoards, and so the earlier behaviors are to hoard, to have enough. I've got to have enough to get through this. We need to conserve energy. We need to slow down. We need to preserve and conserve everything that we've got, and we wait for the danger to pass. Okay, that's the only way to do it. And that was the behavior we saw first. Okay? Now, as time's gone on and people have still been afraid and still been in fear, then we had the shutdown. Now, okay, each of these kind of areas has a polarity, because a lot of us like our free time and our spare time and our quiet me time, but we're afraid of being abandoned. We're afraid of being alone. left out of the group. So suddenly we are now told we have to stay at home, we have to separate, we have to social distance, we can't be with our loved ones. You know, a woman had babies taken away from her when they were born, loved ones in isolation. This has a massive impact, especially on the kidneys, and a massive impact on us, because it pushes us, even if we were coming out of it, back down into brainstem. Because as a tribal animal, to be abandoned and separated from your tribe means death, it means you're vulnerable, it means predators can eat you, it means you're going to die. So what we've done now is we've moved the goalposts, we've changed the way we're testing, and there's been some reports coming out now, or some whistleblowing, if you like, that the tests for the COVID-19 are actually tests for kind of any kind of coronavirus, and the results are not accurate. And what is happening is people are terrified, still in a freeze, they've got nowhere to go, they're being separated and isolated. Massive impact. People will, what an animal does from a herd, if that happens, is they just curl up and die. Okay, they don't go looking, foraging for food, ain't no point. They can't survive without the tribe, so they curl up and they die. Massive kidney, water retention, and kidney issues, liver issues from starvation. All of these programs in our bodies are triggered to try and preserve water, preserve food, and protect ourselves from attack. But if we're just left and abandoned by our group, by the tribe, disregarded or exiled and abandoned, the biological trigger is I'll just shut down and start kind of preparing and just allowing death, because I'm obviously of no use to my tribe, so the tribe carries on without me. Okay, that's a biological response. So we're triggering that in millions of people, in all our old people. And did you know that by testing for this virus and reporting it when it's not actually there, or you might have it, so we're going to include you, people that would have had specific illnesses and maybe stayed at home with their family, maybe herd healed, stayed together in the collective love and company and warmth of their homes with all their resources. You know, I've seen a video of people lying on the floor in hospitals. No blankets, no pillows, no attention, no nothing, okay? Is this really better than actually being with my family, with the other people who are stronger, who are going to support me and help me heal and look after me with love and care and attention and help me through it? Of course it isn't. So now there's a massive demand on our resources because of the way it was managed. Japan have not done a lockdown. Japan don't have a crisis, okay? They may have a slight following crisis when they've turned their 5G on. Let's see what happens about that, but that's another thing. So what we've done is we have now triggered survival mechanisms on another deeper level again, and if they didn't have it before, they got it now. But it is bringing out a lot of care in other people, that's true, but from a survival point of view, that's what's happening. So then people try to follow. They go into this, okay, we're locked down, we're told we've got to stay in, we're told we could be fined if we go out, even though actually if you just say, well, I'm going to help somebody, I'm going to do something for somebody else, that's okay, there's no difference, okay? So I mean, I'm signed up to help with our local community, and I'm signed up on this Good Sam app, cool name, right? So I can go out and I can do these specific things. Now I'm taking gloves, I'm doing stuff that makes it not scary for people. But there are stupid people who are complaining on, the Brighton group, where people are sitting quietly by themselves with their family, getting some fresh air. Well, why are people doing that? So the only way out of a freeze is to, when the danger's past, escape, evade, or get that freeze out of your system. The amount of, well, they're not toxins because they're, our adrenaline and our cortisol is designed to kick us into action. So when that adrenaline and that cortisol is fired after the freeze and after I can, there's some resolution, I now need to run away. I'm not frozen now, but I've still got to run away and get to safety. Well, we still can't do that, can we? because there's this invisible virus that we keep being told is going to kill us all, and that if we're irresponsible, we'll be the reason everyone else is catching it and that we're spreading it. So now people have started to develop severe symptoms from this build-up of these hormones, fight, flight. The best thing you can do is manage your response and your fear and your threat to survival. Manage how you feel and manage your emotions. But one thing I highly recommend you do is take every opportunity within the guidelines and within the boundaries of the guidelines. So don't frighten other people, whether you think it's rubbish or not. Still respect other people. Keep your distance, because else you're going to just bring fear on them too. We don't want to do that. We want to minimize fear. So to minimize fear, respect the guidelines, but take every opportunity to do exercise and release those hormones, release that freeze response. People have started going out because they had a fear freeze response. People feel claustrophobic. Okay, we're agoraphobic in freeze. We want to hunker down, but we want to get out when we are going through the fight flight part. So people are now trying to process their emotions. If you don't do that, if you don't process your emotions and keep your own curve down, okay, then you are going to be creating a very much higher peak in the second wave, because we are making ourselves vulnerable, we're making other people vulnerable. So within the guidelines, take your exercise, and I hope the police and the local councils and the politicians start to understand the impact. They might already, but that's a whole other video as well. Start to understand the impact and the reason why people need to have that exercise, that sense, even if it's a false sense of freedom and some kind of control, but you need to process the freeze, release your freeze, get it out. What I don't advise you to do, because we can't fight the virus. Don't turn on each other. There's a fear, there's a frustration, there's an anger. Don't attack other people. Process, or just acknowledge that that's how you feel because you're afraid. Acknowledge that you're frustrated because we don't have a solution. And it's so unfortunate the way this has been handled. The segregation, being sensible, being respectful, highly, highly support. Terrifying everybody, playing emotionally blackmailing and devastating videos of people screaming and crying and hysterical people on the news, absolutely terrible idea. Telling people what to do, bad idea. Asking them to support the cause, inviting them. People need to feel valued, they need to feel they have a voice, they need to feel that they're part of the solution. So now there's a segregation and a separation of people who have gone into fear so much that they're just slagging everybody off who are going out for fresh air. I don't want people to go the other way and just, randomly not care about how the government is trying to handle it, else we're just going to cause more fear. But I highly, highly recommend, you can't see, this is not a point for the average person to go, just go and sit and do a bit of meditation. If you're in fight flight, you've got to be highly evolved in and practiced, not evolved, practiced, highly practiced in doing those kind of things, or at least get with your community to do it. So get online, connect with people, do some exercises, get your kids doing exercises at home, release the freeze, release the buildup of adrenaline, the buildup of cortisol. Because if you don't, we are going to have a high peak and a big problem of vulnerability in the second wave. And the whole point of this is to minimize it and minimize the second wave. So why don't I think we should have full lockdown? Because it is not the coronavirus that is going to make people vulnerable and kill people. It is being separate as herd animals. It is being separate from our society, being separated from our loved ones, no resolution and no solution, and even being told that if you could even be the person that kills other people. So what a fucking stupid thing to tell people who are already stressed and already vulnerable, right? So that's my advice. That's why I think a full lockdown will serve no purpose. most of the top experts, and certainly anybody who understands stress and trauma, will agree, and they are agreeing. But I definitely think we need to respect people. So respect the guidelines, and please, the people that are complaining and bitching about people who've gone out for their permitted walk, permitted space, and they are respecting other people and just doing their own thing, leave them alone, because they are the ones that are managing their emotional resilience, they're managing their stress, and they are doing something that's very valuable to their health. I suggest the people that are in their homes, hooked to the TV and relying solely on all the drama of the TV to actually do the same, but keep your distance and do everything that you can to manage your stress. And that doesn't include watching over and over again the same people screaming, or vicars telling you that you should consider this a plague. What a stupid person. Okay, so that's my advice, ending in a bit of a rant, but we've got to take care of each other, guys. This is really, if we really want to be responsible, then we have to be responsible for ourselves. Having a go at other people is not being responsible for yourself. Managing what they're doing and how that makes you feel is being responsible for yourself. And then you doing your bit. Lead by example. And if somebody's coming near you and you don't want them to, then get out of the fucking way, right? Don't be involved in making situations worse, arguing with people, fighting with people. Stay at home.